camps for women to vent their anger against their husbands. I feel so stupid. I had no idea that this was how I was meant to deal with issues with my partner. So here I was talking with Emily, communicating, having a dialogue where we try and understand where we're both coming from. Clearly, the key to resolving marital disputes is like breaking sticks in the woods. So thank you to these women for showing us the way. I mean, seriously though, what the hell was that? Don't women have the reputation for being like the calm, level-headed ones? Women are meant to be gentle and considerate. There wasn't a single woman who looked around at all of this and said, I don't know, guys, like this seems like it might be a bit much. I'm going to tell these women something that they probably don't want to hear, but if you have that much resentment in your marriage, it's your fault. In my relationship with Emily, we have a rule. If something that the other person is doing is causing you to have resentment, then you have an obligation to bring it up with them. 9 times out of 10, it's just because of a misunderstanding or a miscommunication. Very rarely, it's because of a misalignment of values, which is okay, just means you need to have a conversation to figure it out. And it's easy to do because, after all, you're talking with your partner, your teammate, the person that you chose to be with, that you love. But no matter what, if you start to feel resentment, you bring it up with the other person so that it can get resolved. That's how normal people interact with each other. That's how a mature adult handles their emotions. If your wife feels this much resentment towards you to the point where she's breaking sticks and screaming in the woods, don't feel guilty. Feel pissed off. By what right does she have to hold such strong emotions, to bottle them up, to not talk about them, to not give you a chance to fix it, to solve the issue? When women don't talk about what's bothering them, it sucks. It often makes them extremely unpleasant to be around. Is there anything more childish than someone who has this level of anger but refuses to tell you what's bothering her? If you start to feel resentment, it is your responsibility to bring it up with the other person.
Why don't girls just say what they mean?
It's a great question.
Girls
we
are
want
like,
you guys to figure it out.
But why?
What do you mean?
Because
we're not Sherlock Holmes.
Figure it out. Figure out how to be Sherlock Holmes. It should not be that difficult.
It shouldn't be that difficult to be
We
like,
can't read your mind.
Figure out how to. I don't know. We like the game.
Of course women like the game, because guess what? There's no way they can lose. If your girlfriend refuses to say what is bothering her, and by some miracle you do manage to read her mind and guess what it is, then she feels visible, she feels validated, she wins. But if you don't manage to read her mind, then she gets to bathe in the warm glow of victimhood. A lot of women love doing that. She'll comfort herself with thoughts of, he doesn't know me, he doesn't care about me, he doesn't understand me. She again wins because she gets to engage in the elaborate dance of virtue signaling. I am so victimized here, which by contrast makes you, the man, terrible. It's like these women smashing nature to pieces. It's an act. It's all for show. These are not women who want to solve the problems in their marriage. They want to feel angry. It makes them feel superior. The more righteous that she's able to feel, the better.
Why do men not understand hints? Why do I have to spell every fucking thing out? Why can't you just one simple little hinting at this? Fucking understand what I'm trying to say. I don't want to have to spell everything out like I'm your mother.
Sometimes these women are just getting high off their own righteous victimhood, which women find empowering for some perplexing reason. But for other women, it's more reflective of having a bad case of main character syndrome. They don't want to tell you what they're thinking. They want you to read their mind because they're just that narcissistic. They're that self-involved. It's actually pretty revealing of the way that the female mind works. But first, I want to tell you that men frequently write to me asking for practical advice on how to talk to girls, conversation starters, seduction tips. And I know that I run a channel about female psychology, relationships, and I used to do pickup back when I was like 19 and 20. But I've been in a relationship with Emily for 15 years. We have a 4-year-old daughter. I've been out of the game for a long time. I know my limitations, and when it comes to the details of flirtation in 2024, I'm out of my depth. That's why I am thrilled to partner with Marnie from the Wing Girl Method, who is sponsoring this video. Her strengths, perfectly complement my weak points. Her YouTube channel has 1.3 million subscribers, where she has helped thousands of guys turn their dating lives around using the science-backed flirtation technique called the F formula. This formula has helped over 70,000 men make that first connection and then build attraction. You don't need to be a male model or have $1 million. The F formula teaches the power of flirtatious conversation that anyone can learn. And because the Wingirl method is sponsoring this video, my audience gets an exclusive free preview of the F formula. Click on the link in the description box to get access right now. If your conversations with women are falling flat, today could be the day that you turn it around. Okay, back to the video and those women who expect men to be mind readers because they believe that they are truly the only ones of any importance. It's pretty dark to think about, but let's just be realistic. When you're that obsessed with yourself, it doesn't even cross your mind that everybody else is not equally obsessed with you. You're the important one, you're the main character, you're the woman. To those kinds of women, it doesn't occur to them that their boyfriend or husband is having his own thoughts, is thinking about his own feelings. I really want men to understand this. It's somewhat of a nuanced point, but try and hear me here. Do you see how strategically those kinds of women don't want to speak their thoughts out loud? They don't want to say what's bothering them. They don't want to talk about their problems because in doing so, it would shatter the illusion that they are currently enjoying that they're the only person in the room. Because that's how she wants to feel, like she's the only person of any significance. And so to have to explicitly ask a man for something, to speak it out loud, to make that request, that would force her to confront the reality that he is a separate person to her, that he is not just an extension of her, that he exists as his own person, his own separate entity. For some women, that idea is just too much. That's too confronting. You might think that's crazy, like that makes no sense. Like it's just a normal part of being an adult is that you say what's on your mind, you ask for what you need. But that's what you're missing, is that even though she might outwardly look like an adult, that doesn't mean that that's what she wants to be. Believe it or not, a lot of these women are actually nostalgic for the pre-verbal phase of their infancy, when they were babies and they would just cry and their parents would guess what they needed. Like the baby's just crying and then mum and dad run around like burping it, feeding it, letting it have a sleep, guessing what it needs in that moment. I know that that sounds crazy to you, like why would anybody want to go back to that? But you're thinking like a boy. Boys want to leave that phase. We value independence. For a boy, it is empowering to learn how to articulate what we want. That way, we can begin to exert control over our circumstances, begin to shape our environment, form relationships to be the way that we want them to be. As boys, that practice of imposing our will and then seeing the outcome that we desired manifest, that's extremely enticing. We love that. But girls don't seem to have that instinct, at least not to that same strength. They enjoy a more passive experience of the world, and the roots of that seem to be biological.
A study was done with infants where an obstacle was placed between the infant and the mother. The boy infants would try to knock over, climb, or move the obstacle, and the female infants would cry. So the boys would try to problem solve, and the girls would just vocalize their distress. We see it in infants, where boys are problem solvers and girls just want to hear, they want to be heard that they are not okay right now.
Let me simplify this. Let me just tell you as straight up as I possibly can what women want. Women want maximum comfort and validation while giving the minimum necessary signal that that's what they're looking for. She wants to be upset and then for you to just intuitively know what it is that she needs and to do it for her without her having to spell out that that's what she wanted. A woman clearly communicating what she wants from her man, telling him what the problem was and what he can do to solve it. For some reason, women don't find that empowering. I don't know what to tell you, man. Women are just wired differently. What makes her feel safe is when she gets what she wants without her having to ask for it. Now, I'm guessing that most men can relate to this a little bit, at least in the emotional realm. Like as men, it feels vulnerable to express pain, to ask for support, because in doing so, you risk rejection, you risk being let down, being disappointed. If you didn't technically ask for anything, then you don't need to risk being told no. That can feel safer and more comfortable. This is where women are coming from. They want to feel comfortable. And I I get that, and to a certain degree, I can be sympathetic, but at the same time, I don't understand where women got the idea that they're entitled to feel comfortable all the time, especially when it's at a man's expense. I mean, women, you must know that when you're in a relationship, you don't exist in a bubble. While you hold on to your resentment and never talk about it, sitting in your victimhood, getting increasingly annoyed with your man because he hasn't guessed what's wrong yet, you doing that is coming at a massive cost to him. You might be comfortable, but he's extremely uncomfortable because he loves you, because he cares about you, because he wants to do whatever he can to make it right for you. But rather than assist him in that process and tell him what's wrong, you are making it exponentially more difficult for him, keeping all of the important and relevant information to yourself. In that situation, your comfort comes at the expense of his comfort. And if you're okay with that, well, then that says a lot about the kind of person that you are.
Before you were saying you give the silent treatment, I used to do that too, which is like super immature to think that your feelings are the only one in this relationship. But you have to remember there's someone else in the relationship that loves you and also has feelings. So you can't be one-sided with it. You have to take a step back and be like, okay, this person, I owe this person something. I need to tell them what's at least going on in my head, whether I just tell them and I say, I don't want to talk about it right now, but this is what's going on. You can sit on that. You need to communicate. It's like you have to grow up. You have to grow up at some point. It will come to a point where, if they never want to talk about things, then you can't be in a relationship with someone that never wants to talk about things.
Yeah.
Exactly right. You might pine for the days when you were a baby and everybody just guessed your needs, but it's time to grow up. You're an adult now. If something is bothering you, say so. If you know how he could help, tell him. Men are not mind readers, and the expectation that they should be is sexist. I mean, don't we hear it endlessly? Men need to get better at communicating. Men need to be better at talking about their emotions. If only men were more like women. To that, I say, women, you are not entitled to your reputation as the gender that's better at communicating. If you want that title, you have to earn it. Show me your superior communication skills. I'm dying to see it, because right now, all this giving men the silent treatment, expecting them to be mind readers, that's not it. That's childish. That's embarrassing. If something is bothering you, you don't go out into the woods and start screaming and smashing things. No, you show some discipline over your emotions. You do some introspection. You identify, what is it that I am feeling? What is causing it? What could my man do to help? And then you tell him, you communicate. That is the minimum standard. But Alexander, isn't it inherent in femininity to take pleasure in a man anticipating her needs? Isn't asking women to do this just asking women to be men? Doesn't that ruin the feminine experience? Absolutely not, because if you indulge women as they're doing this childish behavior, you're actually enabling them to become less feminine. You need to use a rewards punishment structure to incentivize the behavior that you're looking for. I'm going to explain more about this on Patreon. This video is not over. What you've just seen is just the shortened, abridged version of this video. If you want to see the in-depth version, come on over to Patreon. If this is something that has bothered you in your relationship, but you don't know where the right place to draw the line is, you're going to want to see the rest of this video.